Do you believe in miracles? If you're looking for a romantic miracle, or you want a miracle in your career or your health or your finances, I want you to know it is possible. Miracles happen every day for people just like you and I. All you have to do is trust and believe. Hi, I'm Sherry Nichols, and I want to welcome you to The Miracle in You, a show that is dedicated to bring hope and inspiration. We interview people from all over the world, people just like you and me who have had hardship, heartbreak, health issues, and they have been able to get to the other side by connecting with a miraculous source. And by the way, stay to the end of this interview. I have a very special gift that I have created just for you. Now, today we have a super empowering story about a romantic miracle. Carolyn Barnes is with us today, and she went from devastating divorce to countless unavailable men that she dated to wondering if she was ever going to find that love that she so craved and desired, to really meeting the love of her life and now being in a very long-term relationship with deep commitment and love. And she is going to share with us the miracle that allowed her to be experiencing this amazing vision and dream that she had always had. So let's welcome Carolyn. So share with us the miracle that happened for you and how it happened for you.
It was more of an evolution, if you will. The background is, and without getting too, into my story, but it was very traumatic. I wound up marrying my high school best friend, and we're still great friends. We really are, but we weren't a good fit. It was very, I never felt like I was getting my needs met or enough, which is really the bottom line. I didn't feel like I was enough. And we had a very traumatic divorce in that, out of the blue, I had filed bankruptcy. Water and power was being turned off. We lost millions back in 2008. House in foreclosure, had to return groceries, at the checkout stand because credit cards weren't working, and I had 2 little babies at the time, and a lot more other stuff. But at the end of the day, I really remember stepping outside. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was fully clothed. It was the middle of winter, and I just took one foot in front of the other, walked into my swimming pool, and it was freezing cold, and swam from one end to the other, going at first I looked up this guy and was like, how did this become my life? How did this happen? This is so incongruent. This makes zero sense. And swam from one end to the other and just was like, sink or swim, just kind of like, I can do this. If I can handle this pool, I can handle anything. And it was survival mode, really. The long and the short, fast forward, I pick myself up, dry off, and, have support from my family, move out from Encino to Oak Park because of the school systems, and just sort of rebuild myself from the ground up. This was, well over 10 years ago. And I wound up dating a lot during this time. But at the time, I didn't realize that I wasn't really ready to have a partner. I needed to figure myself out and grow up a little bit first. But in my mind, I was thinking, why am I bringing in unavailable men? And it just was one after another. And it felt like I was seeking crumbs all the time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it really boiled down to feeling enough.
Yeah.
But before I had figured that out, I was sharing with you that I had this picture from like a calendar from the movie It's a Wonderful Life, and the guy is holding the girl up like this, and they're looking into each other's eyes, and I'm going, I want that. Because I didn't have a blueprint growing up. I didn't have a blueprint of what kind of a relationship made sense for me. I didn't know what that looked like. I had never really experienced that real true passion, but give and take, and just a feeling of safety and real love. And my parents had gotten divorced at a young age, but I just went to bed looking at that every night going, I want that. And it just made me, I remember feeling, you know, and later, just fast forward now, I've studied neuroscience, and I'm a hypnotherapist, and the science behind it, I was like squirting out dopamine, looking at that and connecting with that until I finally, and I shifted something inside that I was just sharing with you before we started this, which is the reticular activating system. I shifted the filtering system from I don't want that as my focus. I don't want that. I don't want to feel like this anymore. I can't feel like this anymore, to that's what I want. Or I'm curious about what it looks like, if you will. Changing the filtering system.
And how did you get to that point though? Because I think so many people go through exactly what you're saying, and they get stuck in that rut of just, you know, like we were talking about, it's kind of like you feel like the door's closed on you, and you just get stuck there. So what was it that do you remember, was there a turning point for you where it was like, I've had enough?
There were many moments like that. You know, it wasn't like I was going after unavailable men. It was one particular unavailable man. And all these other men were going after me, and I kept going, I want this one, because this way I could continue feeling what I'm conditioned in the brain that I've studied and now understand, what's comfortable and familiar. And that patterning, like a computer program, needed to keep repeating because it didn't know where else to go, and I couldn't retrain it. And so every time I would meet somebody else new, I'd always, you know, and we'd date a little bit, but I'd always go back to this unavailable person who was toxic for me. He was a very whatever person, but but it wasn't healthy for me.
Right.
And unhealthy for me was the computer program, was the belief system that I thought I was worth. It developed at such a young age, because I made that decision. And what child should be making a decision? No, for the rest of their life.
Yeah. Right. So you're bringing up a really powerful point here that going, two things that I really love that you were saying. One is that it wasn't the guy, it was the programming that you had that was attracting the guy, because I think we oftentimes look outside of ourselves, but you took responsibility to say, okay, it's not him, it's actually something in me that has been programmed since. So that's the first thing, looking within and taking that responsibility. And then secondly, to look back at this happened when you were a child, and you know, a lot of times people will poo-poo things like that, but things happen, and you take on these beliefs, right, about what's possible for you and what's not. So you looked at that, is what I'm hearing you say.
Well, not until much later, actually, until after I found my partner of now. But but what was interesting is the amount of pain and torment that I would put myself through every time I would go back and never get enough, which was a derivative. You know, my parents got divorced. My dad wound up getting a cat. I'm allergic to cats. I couldn't stay there. And then a girlfriend. Like, when is it for me?
Right.
I'm not enough.
Right.
But the repetition of going after that type of a person who couldn't give me anything but a morsel here, was the norm until I went, enough. And that meant that I needed to not see this person anymore, because I kept getting, that's the thing. I find so many of my clients, so many people keep getting sucked back in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they keep wishing and hoping that something will change.
Right.
But it's like squeezing blood out of a turnip. It's not going to happen. What needs to change is you need to cut that cord and do the work on yourself. And by cutting that cord, I like to often say you're reclaiming really high real estate in your brain. That stuff that's been taken up by the unavailable person or by the negative situation or whatever takes a prime real estate in the brain. That's good thinking space. And you spend so much of the time ruminating how, what, if I did that, you are missing out on the rest of your life on possibilities of what you can have. You have so much clutter, and instead focus on what you want instead, not the clutter and what you don't want or how you can maneuver and create, a castle out of dirt. Make good castles. Whatever, I don't know.
Well, it's like that saying that, that Einstein said, doing the same thing, you're going to keep getting the same result. And if you want a different result, then you've got to rise above the consciousness that created the original result.
I bring up that photo that I stared at all the time. And I remember, because there was a correlation with that when I had my best friend of mine at the time said, you have that picture above your bed for a reason, Carolyn. And that's not the relationship you keep going back to.
Mm.
And that was like something that I went, oh, huh. I wonder why I put that up there. Not to change that person to have that, but to connect with that.
Yeah.
Because there is something more. I want that. I deserve that. I don't know how or when I kept saying, and I don't know what. And she was the one who kept saying, you can't clutter yourself with this person because it's going to take up this space. So the moment that I really let ties and go there, I was able to really take a look at what it felt like being by myself and the loneliness of that, and accept where I was at instead of trying to mask. Because that just delayed the process of what I really wanted. And when I found myself accepting and grieving the loss, it wasn't, I wasn't grieving the loss of what it was, but the loss of a family, whatever, all of that, but accepted where I was at without trying to, they say the best way to get over someone is to get under somebody. But, at the end of the day, you are just numbing, masking. And unless you allow yourself to accept where you're at and have the feelings and release and whatever that may be, and that you will be okay. Yeah. Only then can you move through it and then focus your attention on what are the lessons and learnings from this? What can I give myself? What do I really want? But you can't do that with this nonsense in the way.
It's a distraction, really.
Yeah.
A distraction to your moving towards that vision. So
an avoidance because the pain was too uncomfortable.
Right.
But if we can all feel safe in some discomfort and that it's human, it's the beginning of self-acceptance. I'm accepting where I'm at. I'm accepting who I am for where I'm at. And then that work and so on and so forth. But the evolution, of even now in the relationship that I'm in, and we're like 8 years in and we live together and we have a beautiful home and it's like unbelievable where I'm at now. It's like, I couldn't dream of anything more, but it wouldn't be this way if I didn't continue to do the work and stay on my path, me.
Focusing on you.
Focusing in on me, still being giving, but giving to myself first, giving myself love, meeting my own needs first, because the moment we deviate from that and go on to somebody else's path, we take away that, male, female chase and like two available kind of thing dynamic. But now we're going, I don't know if I want to do your path. I'm going to do me. You can never be disappointed in what you want, and they can either join you if they've earned the privilege to get onto your path or not, but you're fine still.
Right.
And
Yeah, and that's really powerful. I think going back to your point of, first of all, accepting who you are, accepting your feelings, looking at those dark, we so often, we don't want to look at the dark places because we're scared we're going to get sucked into it. But I have a friend and a colleague who says that it really is a 90-second journey, that if you allow yourself to look at those things that you're afraid to look at, yes, it can be really challenging, but really there's about 90 seconds and then you're over it. And, there might be many waves of it.
I disagree. Here's why. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Tell me.
It's not to get consumed. And I tell this again to a lot of my clients. Don't get consumed in the story of the trauma or the past, what that is, but acknowledge the feelings, and they're not meant to be kept. Feelings and emotions are really meant to move up and through us. And so it may be longer than 90 seconds to release sadness, grief, fear of rejection, whatever is the undercurrent. But it's releasing the emotion because we've given something meaning, right? We're releasing it out of the body. It hugs into the body and the tissues and blocks us from receiving, and changes our filtering system when we're blocked, to protect. And our bodies and our minds are designed to keep us safe and protect us. It's just, that's the science, to keep us alive. But the moment we go, this is just part of the human anatomy and it's okay, we don't need to keep, animals shake it off, animals release, and we can release the emotion so that we can then open up, and my hand's up there, and receive the lessons and learnings.
Yeah.
Not the story, but the wisdom and the knowledge and the lessons of, maybe I can look at this from a different angle, or maybe this isn't about me or them, or whatever that is.
Yes, and we're definitely saying the same thing, but it is about allowing whatever you're feeling to come to the surface so it can be released.
Yeah.
And so that you can, because then you can have a different viewpoint as you're talking about. That's really important.
Yeah.
So why was this miracle so important for you?
I think what it boils down to is really learning how, I say, clean up the mess in your head, clean house, clean that up, right? So then you can have permission, let go, release, to focus on what you want instead. Because then we are creating. And when we can create and be not, I don't know what I like, I don't know what that is, but become curious of what energizes us, what makes us feel good, so we can have more of that. Not focusing on what feels bad. We don't want more feeling bad, so why choose to ruminate? Let's clear that out and focus on feeling good and have more of that. When we can really understand how to grab a hold of our thinking and put it towards creating what we want and being open to being guided to with our intuition, by our gut, by our truth, and stepping into who we really are, then that corny phrase that I always thought, life is a journey, enjoy the process kind of thing. It's not the destination. You're really enjoying the process, because once you get to the destination, then what? What do you need to get to the destination? To feel good? And people wait to feel good for an event or somebody to make them feel good. And it doesn't have to be that way.
Right. Right. And it has, I love that you're talking about really getting outside of our own ego. When I say ego, because the ego can be good in a lot of ways, I'm talking about the negative thoughts, the I'm not enough thoughts, the life, isn't happening for me the way I want it to, and I don't know that it ever will, or I'm cursed, or all the thoughts that we ruminate on and focus on, as you were talking about, and to say, you know what, I'm going to open to another way of thinking that, and co-create with that. And that is always, I mean, for me, it's God, you know, for other people, it could be divine love. It could be source. It could be the universe, whatever it is. There is something so much greater than us that knows how to get us where we want to go with so much more ease and grace. And all we have to do is to really surrender to it and open to it.
Listen
So
to it.
listen to it. Exactly. Yes.
And it's like also listening to our truth, our gut. We come into this world pure, and then we have this layers and layers of opinions or distortions or loud noises or things coming at us, shaping us and molding us and filtering out who we really are, and tuning into that inner voice of who we really are, not the inner monologue, which is the negative self-talk, but we first need to, it's the negative self-talk has been programmed, is programmed there, maybe to keep us safe, to protect us for whatever reason, to justify things in the moment as a child, to make sense of something. But just because it made sense for somebody at age 7, you know, just because my dad got a cat at age 7 didn't mean he didn't love me, because he was an amazing dad after I got a divorce. But at age 7, I didn't know any differently. It just meant he'd rather be with a cat than me, whatever decision I made. But as the adult, as the wise woman who I am today, and looking back, I held on to the programming of that.
Right.
Too long. And so if I say, if you are ready to take a look at the limiting beliefs and the programming, as opposed to the story of where you keep stuck, what limiting beliefs do you keep revisiting? And when are you going to say, you know, it's time to release these and let go of them? I made a decision a long time ago based on this, and this, that I don't have to keep as true. I gave it meaning at the time, but I want this. I don't know how or when I'm going to get it, but I'm excited and curious to listening and discovering that.
Yeah.
It's the language. Yeah.
Yeah. And Carolyn, so the why of why this miracle was so important for you, like in your heart of hearts, what was the meaning of it for you to attain
I
this?
didn't want a crappy life. I had a happy life. I didn't want to feel crappy. I want to feel happy. The end. That's simple.
Yeah. And
cortisol, I wanted to produce dopamine and oxytocin, serotonin.
yeah.
But you know, it's why
to have that, you know, and from what you shared with me too, I mean, obviously you had this beautiful picture of this couple that was in love and happy, and that had meaning for you, that something that you wanted in your life, right?
I didn't even know I was giving it the meaning, and I was doing it. People talk about vision boards all the time, and I never had done a vision board, but apparently this was my version of a vision board. And they say, although I don't know all of the details, but I hear that that our environment reflects where we're at. And so if you are, and where we are at, our current results that we are experiencing are the habits and the way we are thinking. That's the reflection, right? So if you want to change this, change the environment. And that's why there's such a catharsis with deep cleaning or purging and letting go, releasing. But what do you want to let go of? What do you want to change? And how can you create this space in your head, in your space around you, so that you can be open to what you want to bring in?
Yeah, absolutely. So well put. So Carolyn, what would you say the impact of this miracle of really rewiring your mind and attracting a man that you have a deeply loving, connected relationship with? What has the impact of that been for you in your life?
I've leveled up my physical health. I had been hospitalized with high blood pressure, anxiety, etc. Gone. I've, I feel like I'm in an incredibly committed, loving relationship that I'm so proud of. Starting with me, oh, I could cry. The relationship with my children has leveled up so profoundly. With my friends, so profoundly. With my career and the choice and direction and the shifts that I've taken in my career, so exponentially. And with the income I'm manifesting, like double, tripled, crazy, by simply going, this way of thinking is holding me back. And focusing on it, you know, even with finances and money, when I was going through, I had reprogrammed myself to feeling lack and scared, fight, flight, real survival mode. I mean, lost everything and just feeling like I'm not valuable and worthy enough and charging enough and whatnot for so many years. And then all of a sudden being able to harness the mindset and shift in there. And now all of a sudden it's like effortlessly, it's the flow coming. Why? Because I'm focusing in on the value of giving and that I have to offer and of me. And it's just, it's mind blowing every area. So it's been impactful to say at least. Yeah.
Well, and what I'm hearing is that it's not just been a miracle in your romantic life, it's been a miracle in every aspect of your life. You've seen a miracle once you took control of your life, of your mindset, of the way you were thinking, and turned that around.
Completely.
Really created a different safety net for yourself with different beliefs. And you have created, I'm so inspired by you, Carolyn. You have, for all of you listening, I mean, such inspiration. And what I love is that it's like, as you do one thing, you do everything, right? So as you shifted that one thing, it shifted everything in your life.
But I'll tell you, Sherry, what always tripped me up, looking at everything all at once. And my body went into this apathetic shutdown or spiraling and just like anxiety or complete shutdown.
So what did you do? How did you?
That's the brain's fight, flight. That's overwhelm or depression, right?
Yeah.
And I focused on one nugget at a time. And I always say this, when you can focus on yourself first, you are home, right? Your body, the only place that you have to live in is yourself. I think Jim Rohn or something, some phrase says it in a different way, or I don't know. But it's true. Like when you can start going, I don't need to numb out. Like I was over drinking, over eating, over whatever, and because I felt so uncomfortable. But the moment you can realize that it's okay, I'm safe to feel uncomfortable. It's not going to kill me. I'm still alive. It's okay. Then all of a sudden you can move through that, let go of the old stuff. And then the more I showed up for myself, and the more I didn't do too much at a time because I tried that and it would overwhelm me and then I'd pendulum swing. But the more I can really do little bit, because I'm moving towards this. And the first was just my feeling like connected with a partner. For some people, it's career, and that varies from every person. But I found there's a distinction between either more career or more partner. And it's just how we're wired. But when those anchors become solid, then we can focus. And I mean, you have several going on at the same time, and there's a give and take. But when you can focus in on yourself first, you can always have that. You always can feel in control with yourself. You may not be able to control the external, what's going on with COVID, everything outside of ourselves or another person, but you can control how you respond, react, how you choose, what you choose to pay attention to or not.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So well, I want to thank you so much, Carolyn, for sharing your amazing story, being vulnerable with us, really sharing how you went from the depths after your divorce to that sink or swim moment, and recognizing that you were done. You were just done, and you wanted to create new ways of being and bringing in this beautiful love that then opened you up to healing with your health, with your finances, and with your career, and with your family, and with your friends, every area. So
Just when you
inspiring.
think you're done, you're not. There's more. And
Yeah,
that's the beauty. That's the beauty, because we are conditioned to continue to grow for the rest of our lives. Otherwise, what do? We're stagnant, which is also then starting to die, right?
exactly. That's
Yeah.
it. Well, I thank you again for being with us today. And for all of you listening, this is so possible for you. It didn't just happen for Carolyn in California, right? It can happen for you no matter where you live, no matter where, what socioeconomic situation you're in, no matter what challenge you're facing. It is so possible for you. And if you're thinking that, oh gosh, this sounds great, but I don't even know where to start. I was mentioning to you in the beginning, I've put together and created a very special meditation for you. It really will teach you how to connect to that power that is waiting for you to connect with it, so it can guide you to your miracle. All you have to do is go to diamondpowertv.com and you will gain immediate access. Until then, believe in the miracle in you. Bye now.